5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off.
Alright guys, I wanted to do a really fun video today and kind of do like a little bit of anatomy drawing and also do like a little bit of reflection so you can draw with me and practice building up the anatomy. We want to do more gesture drawing today. So if you got a pen, highlighter, pencil, whatever you need in your sketchbook, you can join me and hear me out and sketch with me. Alright, we got this cool picture up here. He's kind of like a straight on pose. I'm gonna do smaller sketches with the highlighter, and I'm just gonna go off of like just big major shapes, right? So I'm gonna start off with like the triangle, or actually before I do that, let's start off with the bean shape. The bean shape, I think I've mentioned that a bunch of times. That's to kind of get the entire body, see that? And then from there, I find the center, right? And the guy's kind of got like, he's got his arms posed up, flexed up, and his right leg is kind of extended out. So he's gonna have a lot of his weight is gonna be on his left side. So once I build that out, then I'm gonna get his legs out here. So it's just ovals, right? Bam, and you got another oval here. So curves on straights. And then we have the other leg coming out on this side. See that? Another curve, another curve, and straight. Then we got his foot, got like a little triangle for the heel or cone, and then you have his toes. This is kind of flexed out that way, right? You see how I'm slowly building that up. His left foot is planted down in the ground, so we got that cone shape right there, and then we have his toes out here. It's almost like you're drawing a shoe. Then we got his arms. Arms are just ovals. You can start off with his shoulders there, and ovals coming out, right? And then you have your forearm going up, and then you have your hand. So the same thing. You're gonna do your ovals for the arms, and then almost like a oval, or you can say a triangle for his forearm. Then you got his head. This guy's got kind of a squarish head, but you can start off with a circle and then turn it into that, or a rectangle, sorry. Then he has his shoulders and his traps right here. It almost looks like his his shoulders are actually like a lot bit larger, sorry. And then you have his chest here. It kind of goes into the shoulders. See that? And then you have his neck right here. Bam. So ignore the traps. I added that myself because I wasn't looking at my reference. Next pose, the guy's like facing away from us. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna focus on his upper body, like his upper torso. Because I kind of like how his spine is going down. So I'm gonna start off with that bean shape because that's very important, of course. You got your curve, you got your straights on the side, right? And then I'm gonna follow that curve on his back side, on his spine basically. His spine is kind of like what divides the drawing. So if you look, he has one arm kind of swinging in front this way, right? And you can even do like, if you need to, a cool trick is you can do it as like a little stick figure first. And then kind of build up, your shapes there, and your wherever everything lines up, right here, and then kind of bring this one down. That's another way to kind of tackle these things here, because we're always trying to focus on, getting the detail on first. And of course, you know how that goes. Sometimes we get so caught up on the details that we forget, about the overall shape that we need. So, sometimes the simplicity of this is what makes it stronger and what captures the image the best, right? So I got his head here. His chin is kind of tucked behind his shoulders. So now I'm going to work on his arms. So we got his shoulder here, right? You can start off with circles or an oval and kind of build that out. So then his arm, you're going to have your curve on the outside. I like to do this one on the outside and then straight on the inside. A lot of times we think about the muscle, but we won't worry about the muscle just yet until we get the the drawing kind of situated first. So curve and straight. Actually, let's do it the opposite way. Curve out here and then straight on the inside. And then the curve that will go on the inside will be for the forearm. Then we have the hand, and we can block that in like that, see? So if I wanted to, now I can go in and add some of the details of the muscles that we see. You have this right here, it curves, and you gotta overlap a lot of your shapes. So this is kind of cool. I've been on like a weight loss journey, and I'm not trying to get to this kind of size or anything like that. I'm actually trying to get like more lean, but things still kind of apply. You still have to pay attention to kind of like similar things. And I've just been learning a lot about myself as I'm going through it, pushing myself, getting stronger, learning, how to handle certain situations, like when I'm tired, finding that motivation to kind of get there and push myself to go to the gym, and then keeping consistency with food. Like that's always been like a big challenge for me, ever since I was, like yay big, since I was a kid. So this has been really cool to just see the big changes in myself, and I'm really proud of myself for that. And it's been reflecting a lot in my life, like just on a personal level, like things are coming a lot easier. Obviously I'm not as tired. I have a lot more energy. It's reflecting even in my classroom, like where I work at. It's all pushing into one direction. Everything's kind of like aligning. I'm becoming a lot more bold, a lot more confident. So it's been dope, and I'm excited to get to like my goal, and even then, like just to continue this lifestyle and align better with the lifestyle that I want and that I dream of, and I want and desire. I learned a lot of cool things this week for sure. Like being honest with yourself. That's been like the biggest part of this journey, because you got to be honest with like you're eating. If you're gonna be eating cookies and stuff like that, you can't just lie to yourself. Be like, oh yeah, I've been eating well and I'm okay and I'll be all right for the next week. Even like relationships and things like that, being honest, it's key. It's very important. Without honesty, you're not gonna get anywhere. You're just gonna keep fumbling for the rest of your life. And not to say that I've lied to myself my entire life, but sometimes you do the little white lies, and then that turns into something you don't want later on in the future. It's been really neat, and it's been reflecting on here. Like I'm drawing even more. I was drawing every day anyway. I just wasn't like posting things, and for a while, for like over a year, I just stopped posting and stopped doing all that stuff that I was really pushing that I wanted to do. I would just do it behind closed doors and just kind of be happy and content with that. But now I just decided over time, let's create some stuff and maybe make a video from time to time, and now this time when I draw and when I'm doing these videos, I'm reflecting more and I'm talking about things that I feel like is important, like our feelings and things like that. I'm working on that zine on the side, which that video will be coming back soon. I just got to get my printer, kind of get that together, and I'll finish that up because I have everything listed down. I just got to finish all the drawings and pasting things. But yeah, it's helped me like grow so much this journey, in so many ways, in so many aspects. And so I'm happy, and that's all I can say about that. Like even when I'm sad, like I can come here and draw. Like I go here, I work out, and I come and draw. If I'm happy, same thing. If I feel like I'm caught up on something else, my emotions are somewhere else, this is where I can kind of like lock them in or figure them out and work on. Sometimes I even write notes to myself, and well, this is not one of the notes, but I'll write down in here almost like my journaling almost, and write down a lot of things that I want. Yeah, this book right here is amazing. I got it when I was like 21 or 22, and I started like trying to figure out how I mainly fell in love because of the style. I like how he uses like rhythm and texture and things like that to build. But I learned a lot about like flow and how to really use those forms to kind of create more dynamic poses and sketching. That's why it makes it more readable with highlighter because of these. But this guy, if you ever get a chance, look him up. It's Michael D. Matesi, and the book's called Force. He has one for animals as well, and I think he just came out with one for hands and feet, which I might get later on once I get a chance. I actually want to get all of his books. Like I used to take this was me with the highlighter, and this was way back when, and I would take my highlighter and kind of figure out the forms, how he would place them on a figure. And this is one way to study things like that too. Don't be afraid to kind of work on your book or in your book. You see how you can feel it, and I want to get that in my drawing. So later on, I'm going to be pushing more of these for myself and doing more figure studies. That's my goal now, is to kind of get that going. Yeah, you see. So anyway, those here is like focusing on his back. It's like a back relaxed. So I'm gonna, the bean shape still, use it. And I'm gonna kind of create my curve on straight. Even though it's kind of, it looks like they're both the same, like you would do it on both, I still try to find my curve side. And then I can adjust it how I like afterwards. So then you have your rib cage here, right? You have your neck and head shape. Right, and you have your ears. Okay, and then after that we have your shoulders. So I start off with them circles, right? And then I can build out a skeletal system here. So we got your elbows out here, and then you have your arm and hands going right there. So elbow, and then you got your arm and hands. And mind you, this is going to overlap. Once you add the muscles, it'll overlap each other, and then it'll make more sense. But until then, you have to kind of let it work on its own. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on like the center first, like the obliques, build that up a little bit more. Yeah. Right? And they cut into each other. So then I have my spine, and then you can add the traps right here. That's almost like a little triangle. It's kind of cool when I'm at the gym now, like I'll see like on the machines, they kind of have, you know, like a description of what they are, like what the machine is for or whatever. Or if you just know like what, you know, what muscle groups are being worked while you're working out, it helps too. And it's just neat to see all that, and especially like adapt it and like put it in my mind when I'm drawing. It's really neat to like feel it and also draw it and see it at the same time. And it's changed a lot. Like it's kind of cool. One day it'd be kind of neat to like try to sketch at the gym. Probably wouldn't be able to do that, but it would be an awesome thing to do, because man, you got so many people, like different builds, different structures, and it would be awesome to be able to draw a lot of people working out and stuff like that. I don't know, I'll see if I can do that one day, but I would have to get like cool at the gym or something, or talk to like the management or something and see if that's something that's possible. But that would be a cool perspective, and you can really see like different body types and things like that, and really apply it to your drawings. Okay, so now you're starting to see I got that there. Got the head shape here, and the neck. Then we have the rib cage, right? And then we have the spine here. And then you can kind of go into that more. Like that. And there's his legs, because he's got them kind of out. Curve on straight. And then the more you draw, you start to notice that a lot of these like shapes that are here, where they're kind of like little connectors almost in on the body, almost like Lego pieces, it feels like, or maybe not Legos, but like those kinetic kind of pieces, like joints. And then it makes it easier to see a lot of these figures when you do it that way. Oh, one thing I also want to talk about is like, you know, keeping the same energy for something that you care about, whether if it's like drawing a person, you know, even if it doesn't go a certain way for you, you know, if it doesn't follow through the way that you hope or envision to, you know, you still should, you know, teach yourself to kind of keep that same energy that you started off with, And I mean, you always can adapt things, of course, but don't lose that like original feeling or thought that you had in the first place just because it didn't go the way that you wanted. You know, that's how like I've grown a lot, like doing that. And again, it's like reflected in my class, it's reflected on a lot of things that I'm doing now that I've grown up, I've grown more and understood more. So yeah, that's just one thing. If you ever learn something from me from watching these videos, if anybody's watching them, try to keep that same energy. Don't let, just because something didn't go the way you wanted to, don't let it change who you are or change the way you treat something else or another person. You still show the same amount of energy and friendship, love, whatever it is, towards what your passion is, whether if it's drawing, at the gym, riding bike, skateboarding, friendship, whatever. So I'm learning that now. There's a lot of things I had to learn, and I'm slowly adapting and stuff like that. But it's been cool. So now I'm gonna exaggerate some of these forms here. You got your hips, see? And now it looks neat because I can start seeing a lot of those important dips and cuts that are there. See how it all kind of forms together once you start giving yourself some space to work with. Yeah, so this is a really cool pose. I like this one a lot. I thought it was going to be a lot more challenging, but it was neat. I like it. So I kind of exaggerated this part. I brought the hand a little closer, but I can move that around. And that's the whole point of this, is so you can see where how you move certain things and where you can place them and move them around. At this next pose, I'm gonna do it like right here. So this one's kind of cool. It's kind of a simple one. Hopefully I'll get some more dynamic ones in a minute. But of course, again, we're gonna do our straight. And we're gonna do our curve, and straight. And then we're gonna kind of cut into it. So I keep it super loose. And then I kind of start adding what I need afterwards. So I'm gonna look for that center, and that's gonna be about here, right? And then I'm gonna add my little bone structure if I need to. There's my shoulders here, shoulders over there, and then let's work into the chest. Chest is gonna go about right here, and it kind of folds into underneath the armpit right there. Bam. And then you have the collar up here, and then he has his shoulders, right? And then the head sits in this diamond pocket, like right here. It's almost like a little baseball field, the pocket that it creates. And then you have your head, and he's looking down. It's kind of tucked into his neck. You got that right there. Got your thing. So you got your mask, and then your ears are like about here. Okay, so you see how I kind of got that built in. Now I'm gonna look for a shape here, and I can start building it out. We have his rib cage, because your rib cage is like right underneath your chest, right here. A lot of us get confused. I used to get confused and think that this was part of like the part of the rib cage, like how here where it cuts. I used to think it was the chest part, and then I would like make the abdomen really weird. And so it just took me a minute to realize it's like two different layers. Like you have your rib cage, and then on top of it you have a small space, and then your chest is right on top. Like your muscles for your chest is right on top. His shoulders are kind of bigger, so I'm gonna create that almost like a teardrop shape. See that? And then I'm gonna start working into his biceps, right? And it's like a little connector, and then the forearm's gonna slip right inside there, and it's gonna come down here, and then you have your wrist or your hand, and it's like a little diamond shape, and his knuckles coming out this way, because then his leg will be here. See? Bam. So now I'm gonna do his right arm, So we got his shoulder. Then after that we got curve, and then we got Straights on this side, right? Curve. And then we have this wrist over here. And sometimes it'll overlap like this in my drawings, but that's okay. You know, like it's just to study. So as long as you can see it, that's all that matters. Or if you want to, you can get a little sticky note like these and paste it over, but I don't feel like doing that right now. It's not necessary for this one. And I think it kind of works that way. I like the way it looks and feels. Then you have your leg here. So from here, you have his hip, his kneecap, and you got your leg, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you got your kneecap, and you have your straight, curve, right, and then into the feet, which I'm not gonna do that right now. So then you have this curves up in here. You have this little part of your forearm. And you can go from there. So now I'm going to take my purple and I'm going to kind of go into some of the details. So we have your chest here, right? Bam. And then his chest is kind of curved this way. Then we have your rib cage. Right? And you have your oblique. You have your center. You have your clavicle right here. Have your traps. Bam. His neck goes there, kind of like curves up, and then we got your head shape. And then this is where the gestures, like the more simpler your marks are, the better it reads. And that took me a while to like understand what that meant. So like now I try to just do minimal marks at this stage at least. And I kind of let the mistakes work. Like you see how like that, it kind of dips in. That works because then it turns into your wrist. You see that? How it kind of creates naturally a shape there. And then I have his fist down this way, which is kind of like a diamond shape. And then you can add like, there we go. And then his thumb right here. And it kind of works all together. So don't let those like small like things that you think are mistakes are perfect. They work really well, and it helps divide like show where the muscles are. You see that? And now I can work with those. You have his chest right here, his shoulder kind of goes into that way. See? In this next pose, he's got his arms, so there's a lot of overlapping in this one. So I'm gonna start off with my bean shape first, right? So curve on straight, and then usually when I have to deal with overlapping, I try to just focus on the shapes that are gonna be in the front, basically the ones that overlap the most. So I'm gonna look at that. I find my center. So he's kind of like turning this way, like that. So then we have his chest up here. Okay, now in his arms, we got his bicep, then we're gonna have his forearm coming across this way, and then his wrist right here, or his hand right here, sorry, his fist. And then we're gonna have another one overlapping in this direction. So now we're gonna pay attention to his forearm coming across his chest a little bit, or like pressed up against his chest. And then we have the forearm, curve, and then straight, right? So we're gonna just worry about that for now, curve and straight. And then you have your fist, sorry, which is cupping the wrist right here. See that? Then you can add the head. If you want to, you can add the little diamond, the pit, right here, the little diamond shape. And then your neck will go inside there. And then you have your head shape. He's facing us. His head's turned towards us. It's like almost like a 3/4, but not really. There we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in. Let's get that there. That's the front. And then we have his back with a bean shape, right? This is cutting in this way, and then you can add his legs if you'd like to. His leg is like taking over in the front like that. Bam. Okay. All right, then I'm gonna take my purple, whatchamacallit, and then I'm gonna start working in the details. So we got his shoulder, or his traps, I mean, his shoulders. We got bicep, and we got the forearm up here. We got this here, we got his hand, right? Thumb down this way. Then we're gonna do the other side. So we got a trap, shoulder, and then I'm gonna work his chest in because his chest is kind of overlapping his bicep a little bit. We're kind of competing for like which one's going to be first. And we got his bicep, got the elbow, right? Got the forearm, and then this is leading into the hand, which is his hands are right here. So I'm gonna create that box and then the thumb here. See that? So now you see how it kind of comes together now. And I can add his leg too. And then he's got his like underwear on and his leg right here. And then what I like to do sometimes for the leg, I like to do that just to show the roundness. Sometimes I even do it for these areas here so I can really see it on my own. And then we got his clavicle here, right? We got his face. That goes kind of into his neck. Got the ear, bam. And now it's starting to really come together. That. And got his like ribs right here. His rib cage is like right underneath that. Bam, right there. And you see how it kind of really works? And you got his other leg back here. Now we got all the details we need, and we can draw on top of this. And this is where you kind of start developing your characters from here. Once you can remember these steps here, you can build anything you want. And this is where it like this is where you grow from here and then build up. It took me forever to like understand that. Like I understood what my teachers were saying, but I didn't at the same time. You know, when you're young, you think you know it all, but you don't. And it was just one of those kind of deals. All right, this pose, what I'm gonna do is to cover this part so I can see it more clearly. I'm gonna take a sticky note, and I got glue stick here. What I'll do is I like to, where's the sticky side of this one? Oh, here we go. So I like to just cover up spots. If I see that it's too messy for me, I'll cover it up sometimes. Or if I make a mistake, like something that I feel like I can improve, I'll take my sticky note and cover it and just draw on top of there. So like this, I'll just do that, bam. And just, it's a cool way. And it makes it look cool too. It gives us like a whole little style and stuff like that. People think it's kind of neat to see and to use. All right, so I got that there. I'm gonna draw this pose. This guy, it's like a front view, and he's kind of got his both arms up and he's flexing. So it's kind of like this one here, but a little bit more straightforward, and he's kind of leaned back more. So let me get my orange. So I'm gonna start off with that bean shape, of course. We got this, curve, straight, right? Super loose. And his chest, this time, everything's like up here. So he's kind of like pushing himself, like rolling his shoulders back and really curving his back in that direction. Sometimes I do that too, where I kind of use arrows to kind of show where the flow is going, where there's like a lot of points, where there's like pressure and energy. So he's going to kind of go in this direction. So I'm gonna use this. Actually, this line right here is perfect. Here's his chest, and and then his chest is like really pushed up towards the top. So I'm gonna use that as my start. Then I got his rib cage, bam, right? And then from there you can create his shoulders, and then his bicep. Curve, sorry, on straight, curve, on straight. And then we got his forearm, curves, on straight, curve, on straight. And we have his fist right here. It's just like a little box or a rectangle, bam. And we got that part there. This is kind of similar to what I was doing for the Calvin and Hobbes sketch, basically. So it was kind of the same type of feel. So there's the top of his chest, center line. Then we have his neck kind of popping out from here, right? And then we have his head right here. So this one's kind of different because his face is leaning up. So he's looking away from us. So we're gonna have to do that and try to show that as best we can. You got his ears, right? Got the shadow. And you got this right here, bam. His forehead's gonna be a little bit smaller, right there. Okay, so I got that. Now I'm gonna worry about his here, that center line again. Got his hips right here. And then you got the underwear, right? And you can add his legs if you like. I'm just going to kind of give you just a gesture of it because I'm focusing more on the top. And his muscles right here. Okay, now I'm going to take my purple and I'm going to kind of tighten it up now. So I'm just going to find those shapes that I find super important or that build it out. So we have that. Then we have it the top of his chest, bam, bam, right? We got his neck. And then I'm gonna put his chin like about here. His eyes are right here. His ears. Okay, you see that? Then we got his bicep. And we have, let's go up a little bit. Up. So we got his bicep on this side. Then we have the muscle here. Got forearm, right? This straight for the elbow. And we got this part here. And now it really starts to come together. We got his fist, like that, bam. And his wrist. Same thing for here. We got his fist. Got that. We got the straight. And we got his oblique right here. And on this side, kind of went out a little bit, but it's okay. And we got his hips. His rib cage. Right, and then we have like abs and all that stuff. So we got his belly button right here. And then these kind of dip into the rest of the body. So let's make the underwear. And you can kind of create the rest. But you see how it kind of slowly forms it? Now I can pay attention to where some of the muscles will stick out or pop out more. So sometimes I'll do like that, kind of cut into it. And it reveals more different other elements. You have the little, there you go for the rib cage. You have some abs. Here we go. So again, I encourage you guys to do this. Like all I did was like literally take a YouTube video on my TV. And I looked up bodybuilding poses or posing like that. Just take 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and just do 1 or 2 poses, and push yourself every time and learn something from them. Try to learn something from them, and you'll see that your gains will go like from here to here, like very quickly. So that's, if you haven't learned anything from me, I hope you learned that and you start trying to challenge yourself. And remember to, like, don't stop just because you're feeling a certain way. Don't stop doing things. Always make sure that you keep that same energy. You may not be able to match it perfectly every time because it's life, but don't shortchange yourself or what your hobby is or even a person just because things didn't go a certain way. That's that kind of lull sometimes that you'll have, like that dull moment where it feels like kind of heavy, things feel kind of slow, like they're not moving anywhere. But keep being yourself, keep being true to yourself. If anything, more importantly, things will start flowing in a different way. So that's all I got to say today. Make sure you always sketch. If you get a chance, like, share, and subscribe. Peace.